some instruction on tourniquets. This is important, I think, because it's something that you can take away into your personal life, not just for the special event, but these guys will tell you that they're going to recommend to every one of you guys that you should have one of these in your car. You should have one of these maybe at work, just because you never know. We have recently found out, as a matter of fact, one of our tourniquet applications, did you guys get your award for that? Yeah. One of their recent tourniquet applications saved a life. So yeah, pretty awesome. So I'm gonna have those guys come up, and we're looking at like 15-20 minutes of this. Hopefully you'll get a little bit of an opportunity for practical too, to be able to touch the tourniquet and kind of see how they work. And then after that, we'll roll into the active shooter part of it. Situational, personal awareness stuff. I think there's a lot of useful information, again, that you can take outside of this event and just moving forward. I think the people that have seen this in years past gives them a different perspective on what's going on in their surroundings and just being aware of what's going on. Then we'll wrap it up with just a quick incident debrief, which kind of really puts everything in perspective as far as that goes. So Brandon and Ian, you guys are up. Oh, Joe's doing it too. I'm sorry, Joe.
Hi everybody, my name is Firefighter Reese. I've been at Milford for about 2.5 years now. I started full-time about a month ago. A little bit about my background. I was a medical sergeant, combat medic for almost 10 years before moving to Milford. So today I'm just going to be going over a couple of the interventions you could use if we have some type of mass casualty incident. Here we have a tourniquet. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen this. This is for cutting off blood circulation. You would use this on an extremity, arms, legs, things like that, and it would cut off the entire blood flow to that extremity in order to be able to get them to the next point of medical care. Here we have combat gauze. This is what it looks like inside this package. If you guys have to come across one of those red bags in order to treat a casualty, this is what it looks like once you open it. You pull it out, and this is what you have. And then this here is an ETB, emergency trauma bandage. This is what you'd use in tandem with that combat gauze in order to hold pressure, and I'll show you how to use each one of these. Does anybody here have medical experience working in the medical field? No? Anybody prior service? No? Okay, so these might be new to you guys if you've never used them, so I'll be sure to go into it in detail. Just might lay down for me. Yeah? Lay down? Yeah, thank you. So, like I said, this is your tourniquet here. Here we have the tourniquet strap. All right, we have your windlass here, this rod. We have your windlass clip, and then this is just a piece of Velcro to secure your windlass once it's fastened down. So, if you come across a casualty, in a mass cal incident or any type of penetrating wound, you see somebody, you just want to do a visual blood sweep. All right, let's say we have a casualty, they have a bleeding from lower extremity of leg. You want to come across them and you immediately want to apply pressure, however you can do so. All right, once you grab your tourniquet from your med bag, all right, you deploy that. All right, and now with doing these quick interventions, all right, if you have an opportunity to remove something from a casualty's pocket, it will help you cinch down this tourniquet. I know sometimes you don't always have time, all right, so anything's better than nothing, but if you do have an opportunity just to, swipe keys, phones, things like that out. Yes, of course, yes.
If you need to move, just feel free to do it.
Yep.
And I'm gonna stand up after the fact. I'll walk around. I'll show you. I think a little bit. You want me to stand, lay down in the middle? Yeah. See over here. Okay.
All right, we'll do this the best we can so everybody can see. All right, so you come across it. You're gonna apply that pressure. You're gonna remove your tourniquet. All right. Once you do so, all right, you want to apply this as high as possible. All right, so you're gonna try to get it right before this crease where the groin area is. You apply it up, you stick this through this buckle here. You're gonna grab this clip, that's gonna help you cinch this down. You cinch it down, now you're gonna grab this windlass, and if you cinch this down, you good?
Oh, yeah?
You should really only need 2 to 3 cranks. You feel it already?
Starting to feel it, yeah.
Once you've done that, you're gonna put this windlass in this, roll to the side for me just a second. You're gonna put this windlass in this clip that I showed you guys before, and then you're gonna secure it with this, with that Velcro. All right, then just wrap this around. In those med bags, you also have tape, 3-inch tape. I would advise putting that tape on the back of that strap. It's just gonna hold it in place.
Alright, so I'll walk around so that you guys can see it. A good way to check it too is like, right now, I can't put my finger at all in between the tourniquet and my body. It's so tight that it's cutting off all blood flow. If you can fit your finger in between the tourniquet and your leg, it's not tight enough, okay? It's not gonna be, like, it's not gonna work. So if you see a house locked down, do you guys see it? I'll walk around. It's not easy to walk on, that's for sure, but that's not the point. You guys see it? You mentioned taking stuff out of the pockets too, because my phone pocket was right where the strap would have been. That would have obstructed the tourniquet, so it wouldn't have been on
Can it be too tight?
No. Nope. You want to cut off the blood flow so that you cannot make it too tight.
Okay.
If you feel like you need to crank it down 8, 9, 10 times to get it tight enough,
it. If they're fighting and yelling, you're doing a good job.
You're on that one. All right, so next I'll be going over the combat gauze and the ETB. And then whenever you get
I'll get back down.
all right. All right, I would personally recommend, for my professional experience and my former job, this is our #1 go-to. All right, I personally carried 3 on myself. Every one of my guys had them. We had them in our med bags. We had them in the medic aid bags. This is a solve all problem. No matter what injury they have on that limb, that's gonna stop the bleeding. Let's say you've exhausted all your tourniquets and you need to switch over. You need to switch over to applying gauze and a wrapping to it in order to control that hemorrhage. Same thing, you come across an injury. Let's say he has his injury here. You guys can see. All right, you're gonna take your gauze out, open it up, take it out, and you're gonna apply it here. All right, you're gonna apply that pressure. Then you're gonna grab your ETB. All right, you'll open that package. All right, it's gonna come out like this. All right, here, all right, is a pad. All right, this is your pressure bar. You wanna stick that pressure bar right over your injury. All right. All right, then you're gonna wrap one time through. You're gonna go through your pressure bar, this opening here. Everybody saw that? And then you're gonna pull it back down and cinch it down. This is allowing this to create that pressure on that to help stop the hemorrhage. All right, then you're gonna wrap. All right, now as you come to the end of it, they all have this clip. All right, this clip is so you can clip it on here to secure it. Like I said about the tourniquet, I would recommend putting a piece of tape on that just to hold that so this clip doesn't come dislodge as we're moving into an ambulance or things like that. Does anybody have any questions over that? All right, so like I said, first I would use a tourniquet. If you exhausted all tourniquets from any of your bags and you have to switch over to this, you're gonna apply pressure, you're gonna get this out, you're gonna set it on there, making sure the pressure bar is right on top of that injury. You're gonna wrap it around, cinch it back down, and then complete the wrap and then clip it on with this, apply a piece of tape. Everybody good with that? Okay.
Now what's that called again?
Oh, so you have your combat gauze here, and then this is an ETB. We have one back there.
Yeah, inside, yeah.
Yeah, here. Good.
What does ETB stand for?
Emergency trauma bandage.
Now that's what you put on first.
So this is what you're gonna apply the pressure with. And then this, if you guys wanna pass these around, this is the emergency bandage, emergency trauma bandage.
Yeah, this isn't tight anymore, but.
You have a feeling in your leg, right?
Yeah, I had to loosen it up. The thing about tourniquets too, they were originally invented for the military use. So people get asked this a lot in police work, how long can they be on? They could be on for days, technically. And that's what it's made for, because if somebody's overseas on the battlefield, they get wounded, you might not get a helicopter in there until tomorrow. So him being a medic would put a tourniquet
I know
on.
civilian side, it's put out in doctrine that, they want it on there for a long period of time, 180 minutes, so 3 hours. I know personally from working with trauma surgeons downrange that, overseas, that they said they've seen them on for 8 hours with no nerve damage or anything to limbs like that, so.
And I just saw a report from Teacher C, there was a guy that was on there, I think for 16 days, which is crazy, but that's
long time.
yeah, a lot of treatment. That's not gonna be something here. Point is, don't worry about the timing. If you can get the timing on when you put it on, it is kinda helpful, but don't worry about getting it on correctly.
And one more thing I wanted to add about this, like you were saying, can you be too tight? I would take the same method with this, apply it as tight as you can to put that pressure on there and stop that bleed. Don't worry about cutting off blood flow with that, because if you had a tourniquet, you would have used the tourniquet and you were gonna cut the blood flow off anyway.
Arm with, put tourniquet on, stop on the shoulder, around it.
Where can you purchase this at?
Purchase these medical supplies.
So don't get it on Amazon.
Okay, well, well, that's, okay.
There are counterfeits out there, such as ones that have been coming over from China for sale. And the problem with those ones is like this windlass, if that snaps and breaks, you're just gonna have a burst of blood flowing through again. There are reputable companies like North American Rescue. That would be the one that I would suggest the highest. It's an American company, they're vetted, that's what the military uses with a couple other companies, that's what we use. But North American Rescue, they will make what's called individual first aid kit and IPAC, and it'll have all of these materials that we're going over inside of it. So if you just wanna get the tourniquet itself, it's good to know. And a lot of people see these and they see all these medical supplies and they connect it with acts of mass violence. That's not always necessarily true. Mountain bikers are starting to carry them on their bikes because they might be out on the trail and might have a real bad accident and it could cause a bad arterial bleed. And they need to put a tourniquet on until he gets out there or I get out there and we can get them out to safety and get more advanced care in the hands of him and to the hospital. Car accidents, kids, but you never know what they could be used for. It doesn't have to be related to just an act of violence. It could just be a simple accident, car accident.
There's $35 for the North American Rescue ones, and not very expensive either.
Yeah.
My question is, where do we find this?
Yeah.
Are we gonna do these in the bar?
Real quick, since we have a couple of extra minutes, I just wanted to show you guys how to apply it to an arm in case you guys needed to do so. Alright, so with the arm here, like I said, the crease on here, so these are considered your junctional areas, your neck, your armpit, and your groin, alright? You wanna go right before this area, your armpit, alright, and then put it on here. And then right before the joint of your shoulder, so you're gonna apply it here. Alright, same method, come across here. Alright, put it right before the ball of that shoulder, cinch it down. And again, crank it. Should only need a couple, alright? And here, I would recommend, since you have this extra tail with the arms, since they tend to be smaller than people's legs, alright, come around here, secure it, and then put that tape on it here. I've seen it downrange that these are hanging and every time they get dislodged during movement. So we are trained over and over again to tape that. So because if this comes undone, they're gonna start bleeding out again. Does anybody have any questions over the arm? Okay, so that's pretty much the tourniquet. Like I said, that should be your first go-to if needed. Apply it to arms or legs, your extremities, and then if you exhaust all those options, you can go over to the combat gauze and the ETB's emergency trauma bandages in order to apply that pressure to help stop that bleed.
Awesome. If you wanna spend like 8 minutes doing some hands-on, we can pass out some tourniquets. You guys can practice a portion of it while we get set up for the next section. I told firefighter Reese that I'm like, you have like 15 minutes to teach people how to use tourniquets.